Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria, your host, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as mmonska. The show notes for this episode and other episodes can be found at stitchedinsweden.blogspot.com, usually. Thank you for your feedback last week if you participated in the poll in the Ravelry group about how many of you actually read the show notes or use the show notes and find them useful. I didn't ever put up show notes for last week, and it's really going to be a week-to-week thing whether or not I can get them up, but I'm happy to get the feedback that they are useful to some of you and that you would like to still see them happen if I can make it happen. So anyway, I have lots to talk to you about this week. Even though there has not been as much knitting as usual, as you can imagine. I have started my first week of school, and that is taking up almost all of my time. But I still have lots of things to show you, so this week I'm going to talk to you about this week in Stockholm, 2 finished objects, 1 work in progress, and a new pattern release. I've also got a little bit of yarn in the mail and a nice swap package that I will share with you. So let's start out with this week in Stockholm. Well, I had my first week of school, so you can see my hair is a little bit crazy. I was just on the bus and walking around outside and just got back from class. I am pretty much in school all day, and yeah, it's definitely a change, but I'm really enjoying it, and I think that it will be a really great program. So, for those of you who have asked, I am studying a master's program in public health in epidemiology. So, it's quite interesting so far, and I'm really enjoying it. But it is definitely a different kind of time commitment than I have been used to in the past. So that will mean that, recording will be a little bit different sometimes. This week I'm recording in the afternoon right after I've finished being in school, and right now it's still light, but I know that soon when I get home from school it's going to be dark, so there might be some changes in lighting and things like that as well, just so you know. But this week in Stockholm, also I don't have show notes that I'm reading from this week, which I usually have. Anyway, I went to a crayfish party in the archipelago, which is a traditional Swedish thing that you do sort of in usually August or beginning of September, and it's very fun. It's very it has a lot of Swedish traditions in it, including singing and drinking schnapps and eating crayfish. I don't eat crayfish, but yeah, just a good fun time with lots of people, and we were having this party in the archipelago, so we were at a nice summer house there with a big deck, and we had great weather for the first day, so we could sit outside and enjoy the sunset, and the second day we had extreme storms. There's been flooding in parts of Sweden from these storms where there was just heavy rainfall and lots of lightning and thunder, but luckily we were able to make it back to the city on the boat and the bus with not too much problem. But it was a lot of fun. And otherwise I've been in school studying, and I have been trying to do some knitting. I think this week I'm going to try and think about waking up 15 minutes earlier, or so that I have 15 minutes extra in the morning that I can do some knitting. It's not really possible to do it on the train or bus, whatever way I decide to commute, because I am commuting during rush hour and I usually don't have a seat. So it's like sardined into the train or the bus, and there's no way that knitting would be happening there. But anyway, so let's start out with the new pattern release. You may have seen on Instagram that I have posted the pattern for the succulent shawl. And you may recognize both of these. I've shown them to you before. This is the first one that I knit in Holst Garn Super Soft, which is 100% wool. And it is a very light and airy, lofty yarn that has a lot of yardage per gram, I guess you could say, or per ounce. So it's, yeah, just a really light and fluffy yarn, and it really, I think that really contributes to this, the fluffiness of this shawl. I mean, I know that sounds weird to say, but compared to the version of the shawl that I knit in a sock yarn that was just a more traditional wool and nylon blend, this version has a lot more drape compared to the other one. Maybe you could tell a little bit. I'm not sure. But anyway, I really like both versions for different purposes. This one is quite a bit smaller, and it's the perfect size just to, I don't really want to hit my microphone, but, you know, hopefully that's not too bad of sound. Just to do a little wrap around your neck like this. And the other one is perfect for a nice big wrap around for either outside, or I think it's nice to have a big shawl like this on the couch to snuggle up with. But this pattern is available now on Ravelry, like I said, and you can basically choose what size that you want to do it. I decided not to specify sizes, but the pattern is written for this size with 6 pattern repeats of this section in the main body and then the edging. The smaller one I did has 3 pattern repeats, and you can see on my project pages how much yardage I used for those, but basically for a small size you could get that out of a skein of sock yarn, 100 grams or so, 400 meters, and then for the larger one I used 113 grams of a very light fingering weight, which was closer to 800 yards, I think. All of my project notes are in my pattern page and the project page, so you can read about those there. But with that release, I would like to announce a new knit-along. So I don't know about where you are, but this week, in addition to being the start of school, which to me is always kind of like the beginning of a new year, it's also the beginning of fall. So it seems like just overnight we have started to have the leaves changing colors, and you have much cooler temperatures in the mornings, and kind of just that fall crispness in the air. So it is definitely the season for shawls. So starting this week with the release of this pattern, I will be beginning the shawl season KAL. And you can knit whatever shawl you would like. I, of course, would love to see you knitting the succulent shawl if you would like, and it's a perfect opportunity to get some group support if you are a new shawl knitter or a new lace knitter. I would say that this pattern does have some technical interest in it, because in parts of it there's knitting on both sides. You don't just have a total row of purls, basically. If you're familiar with shawl knitting, a lot of times you have one row where you're doing something in pattern, like doing yarn overs and knit 2 together, some things like that, and sometimes the back side is just a solid purl row. In this pattern, you do have that for these stockinette sections, which is a nice break. But then in the lace part, you do have yarn overs and things that you're doing on both sides of the fabric, but it's really only for a short distance. I think it's fun to do because, I don't know, it makes it also go sort of, it's one of those things that you pick up and you're like, oh, I could just do this section or something. And then you'll be on to a stockinette part, which maybe is I think it's a little bit more boring, but also just more mindless in a way. And then you get back to a new exciting part of lace, and it goes back and forth like that. So even though it has some like technical interest in it, it's all I think it's very well explained in the pattern. My test knitters have also said that it was well explained, and I know that for some of them it was sort of their first experience with knitting lace. Then you have this edging here, which is quite simple and yet I think has a really nice effect. And then you just bind off with another similar lace section to the repeating sections throughout. So even though I wouldn't say it's a beginner pattern, but I would say that it's an intermediate pattern, and it could be your first pattern for lace, but maybe second pattern would be better. If you've never done lace before, maybe you want to try something else, but I don't know. I think you could also just jump in and do it. I hope that everything is very clearly explained, and you can always ask me questions if you come across anything that you don't understand. So for the shawl season cal, you can knit what shawl you would like. You can start knitting now. So today is September 7th, and this knit along will run until the end of November. So that's November 30th, I believe. In this time, I hope to be releasing another shawl pattern, and so I wanted to give you time to knit both shawl patterns if you would like. You can have multiple entries. I haven't organized any prizes yet, but I'm sure that I could come up with something in the end. But it's really, I would like to use it as an opportunity to engage with you guys who are members of the Ravelry group a bit more. I love seeing your work on Instagram, and when you tag me in it, I always see those posts and really enjoy seeing what you're working on, either while you're watching the podcast or if it's a pattern of mine. And so it will really be about supporting each other and helping, just giving encouragement in this knit along, and then in the end you will have something warm and cozy for the winter and the fall. So that's the goal. If you would like to be a sponsor of this knit along, let me know. You can send me a private message on Ravelry. So that is quite exciting this week. I decided to get that all together. I had everything almost finished, and it was a matter of just pulling everything together and getting it out there. And I had time yesterday, so I decided to take advantage of that and do it. So now it's posted. You'll see some other pictures of it soon on Instagram, or you can also check out my project pages if you would like. I would like to say a huge thank you to the test knitters that I had for this shawl. I always appreciate the time that you take to knit my patterns and to give me feedback on the instructions, whether or not they were clear. And of course, it's another nice thing about having test knitters is that for people who may be interested in the pattern, they have the opportunity to see the shawl knit in different yarns, perhaps. So they may have an idea of another type of yarn that they could use if they don't have something similar to what was used in the original pattern. So thank you again. Okay, so I have 2 finished objects this week, and if you saw my posts on Instagram, you would know what they are. I did finish my Arnie and Carlos Regia socks. They have not been washed yet. That's why they're still not flat. But I really like how they turned out, and these were a lot of fun to knit. I really like them with the contrasting heels and toes, and I think that these will be some fun socks for the fall. I have a pair of sort of rusty red, but more towards red, more like exactly the red color in here. This color. I have a pair of pants that color, and I think these will be perfect with those pants and my short black boots. And my other finished object, which is my Cybella pullover. I was really close to finishing this last week, I think. I don't think I had it totally finished. Pretty sure I still had to do the bind off for the collar. But I did that, and here it is. It fits perfectly. I'm really pleased with it, how it turned out. You can see a picture of me wearing it on Instagram and on my project page. I still have some ends to clip, but it has been soaked and blocked, and so I'm ready to cut the ends. It's been folded in my drawer now for a couple of days too, so that's why there's some creases on it, but I wore this a couple days ago. It was quite cold, and I was just feeling like chilled and I couldn't warm up, and then I remembered I have a brand new sweater, and there's no reason that a knitter should ever be cold, so I put this on, and it was just perfect while I was like reading some articles or something. But maybe now you can see a little bit how the front neckline is slightly lower than the back neckline, and that's because of the short rows that I did. If I hadn't done the short rows, they would have been equal, so that the back and the front would have been like this, and to me that is not as comfortable because of the neck thing that I've been talking about now for the past couple weeks. I know some of you asked some more specific questions on Ravelry, in the Ravelry group, about the short rows and how you use them and where you place them and things like that. And I will talk about that, and some of you asked other questions too. I just didn't have time this week to get it together. So I'm hoping that normally I'll be able to record on the weekends, but I was away this weekend at the summer house, so I couldn't record on the weekend, and so I'm kind of doing it last minute right now. But I will get back to you, and I am happy to answer your questions. So I am excited for my new fall outfit of these socks with this sweater and my red-ish pants. So I think that will be nice and cozy. And I could have been wearing that today because I was freezing in class. My hair is just out of control. So now, for all of you who think that I have perfect hair all the time, I don't. It's because it's so windy today. So, what I have been working on this week, in the bit of time that I had for knitting in my project bag from Deb at Fondant Fiber, I cast on a new project. And I have been wanting to knit this project for a long time. This pattern I've been wanting to knit for a long time. And a viewer actually sent me this pattern as a gift, which was so lovely and unexpected. And I felt like it was just a good time to cast it on. Something I've been wanting to do for a while. I had the yarn. I didn't really have something else that was pressing that I wanted to cast on. So I thought, why not? Just a little bit of, not indulgent knitting, because I enjoy all of the knitting that I do, but it's just a nice project to have on the needles and work on a little bit at a time. So this is the Wheaton, it's a Wheaton pattern by, now I don't know who it's by, but here it is. This is the Wheaton pattern, and it was in the Brooklyn Tweed or the Wool People publication, which is where I saw it, but it's not by Jared Flood. It's by somebody else, I'm pretty sure. And I am knitting it comes in a couple of different options for sizing and yarn weight. So I am knitting the, I think it's called the wrap size, which is, there's like scarf, let me see if I can find it really quick. There's scarf, wrap, larger wrap, and maybe blanket or something. And I'm knitting the second to the smallest, and I'm knitting it in fingering weight yarn. You could also knit it in worsted weight yarn, and of course that would be larger as well. So I'm really enjoying this knit so far. It starts out with some ribbing, and it has alternating sections of cables and lace, and it's kind of like wheat sprigs, I don't know, hard to tell, and then cables. And it's really lovely. I can do, one row in a couple of minutes, so it's perfect when I am, and it's pretty, not memorizable, but easy to figure out where you are. So I can knit a row here and there when I'm just a couple minutes early if I got ready quickly. I could knit a couple rows just before going to the bus or something like that, and so that's been really perfect. I am knitting this in, this isn't really the right color of it, and I can tell that the video quality is like a little bit lower because I'm not in my optimal light situation, but it is what it is. I'm knitting this in the Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Long John's colorway. Yes. Brooklyn Tweed Loft, Long John's colorway, and it is 275 yards for 50 grams. This is a 100% American wool grown in Wyoming and spun in New England. I think this would also be the perfect yarn for the succulent shawl. I've talked about that a little bit before, and I would love to knit another succulent shawl in this yarn, but I don't have any more loft, so we will see about that. Loft is a gently spun fingering weight yarn made with wool from the American Targhee Columbia sheep. Spun in a historic woolen mill in New Hampshire, Loft sustains a legacy of American textile production in New England. And I think the same with the Holst garn that I knit the light blue version of the succulent shawl out of. The fact that it's a gently spun yarn really adds a lot of air into it, and in a sock weight yarn, in a typical sock yarn, it's usually tightly twisted and a more compacted yarn, so that it wears better when you're using it in places that have a lot of friction, like your feet. But for this one, it's just heavenly to work with, and I really love it. So I think it will be nice to have it's not bright red, it's a little bit more wine red than I see it in the picture here. But I think it will be nice to have a red scarf that's like a big squishy scarf to wrap around with either my light gray coat, or I also have a black coat as well. So I am hoping to get a couple more rows knit on that this week, and show you my progress as I slowly make my way through that. Might be one of my slowest projects ever, we'll have to see. This week I did get two things in the mail. The first was a sweet package from a swap friend, and Caroline, I don't know exactly how to say her name, of Zazu Yarns, and she has the Zazu podcast. She sent me a package, and I haven't opened it yet because I wanted to show you how cool this is. She says, Our yarns are vacuum sealed before shipping to keep them safe from moisture and insects and to reduce the shipping costs. So I got the package and I'm like feeling it. I'm like, this is hard. I thought she was going to send me some yarn. I was really confused, and then I opened it up and I just think this is a really cool idea. So you can see the colors at least. Got some nice variety in there, and I will of course show you these probably next week when I take them out, but I just wanted to show you the package. She also sent me some little mini skeins of other yarns that she has dyed, and she has recently, I think she's still working on her shawl design that I believe she knit out of this color, which was a nice light medium gray, and she has the edging color on that too. But so some lovely little mini skeins. She sent me some tea and some little cookie from Holland, and I have already eaten the other ones. And she also sent along this little pouch that she did a little cross stitch on, which is quite sweet. And I put in some needle tips because I knew I was going to be changing needles when I went from the ribbing to the body part of my shawl scarf wrap thing, the Wheaton wrap. So I didn't want them to poke through, and I didn't want to bring my whole needle case, so this was perfect and just really cute. So thank you for that package, and I'm looking forward to opening the yarns now and sharing those with you guys next week too. I did also place an order last week, and I received the yarn for the baby sweater and child sweater, I guess. He just turned 3. Is that still a toddler or a child? I don't know. Sweaters that I will be knitting for Thomas's niece and nephew. They will be in the Bohus tradition, which is not living house, like I said last week. And I knew this, and I don't know why I just forgot it when I was recording, but it is actually the region, the style in the region where this tradition of knitting comes from. So I will be knitting 2 little sweaters, one for the niece, which will be in this light gray, which is the same color as the Little Hearts cardigan that I knit for her. And it's the Yaku 416 yarn, which is a superwash wool. It's quite soft, and you can find it on Ravelry with that name also. It has one other name too. Not really sure why. But these are the colors for the little girl sweater. Nice bright red, and then more of a wine red, and then the light gray. And then for Theodore, the 3-year-old, his sweater will be mostly black. Okay, black. Not that exciting, but I don't have to show you all those balls of black. But I will show you the nice gradient that it will have. So it will have like a gradient sort of going on at the yoke. So it will go from black, to, I can't hold that one also. There. That's the gradient that it's going to have. So a whitish cream on this end, the same light gray from Tira's sweater, and then a medium gray and a dark gray, and then the black. So I'm really pleased with these colors. I think they look great together, and I'm hoping to do some swatching soon and some math to figure out how I will be knitting those sweaters. But I think that is about it for this week. I am going to go cook some dinner now, and then hopefully watch some podcasts while cooking dinner, because I haven't been able to watch any podcasts all week. and then hopefully do some knitting tonight. So thank you so much for your continued support with the podcast and with my patterns. It's so lovely to hear from you, and I really appreciate all the nice things you have said about my succulent shawl this week with the pattern release. I hope you have a nice week, and I would love for you to join along with the Shawl Season, KAL. You can do it on Instagram or Ravelry. The hashtag is Shawl Season Cal there. And you can just see what other people are knitting, and I would love to see your progress. So, until next time, happy knitting, and bye!